When I first injured my back, the very first question that popped into my head was, how long is this gonna take to heal? I bet that's the first question that popped into your head as well. My injury appeared completely out of nowhere. I didn't really see it coming at all. And since it came that way, I figured like it's probably gonna go away like that. Maybe quickly, maybe suddenly, but at least it's not gonna take more than, I assumed, like a week or something. Plus, this happened a long time ago, like 12 years ago, and I was much younger then. I figured like, young people, they heal faster, quicker, like they have an easier time healing. So I should be out of this in like a few days. Man, was I wrong about this whole thing? If you've seen any of my other videos, you know how much it took me to heal. In case you haven't, well, the correct answer is 10 full years. Guys, please, please, please don't be like me. I think I made a lot of mistakes, if I'm being honest. One of the primary goals of this channel is to actually share those mistakes and experiences so that you don't have to repeat them. I had a really, really bad initial back pain episode. It was definitely the most pain I've ever felt in my life. I guess it makes sense, like if you feel that much pain, you can't really expect it to go away in just a few days. But at the same time, it's kind of strange. Like, I don't think anyone should take 10 years to heal from that. For whatever reason, maybe I was probably one of the worst cases out there. Keep in mind, like, I'm not exactly like an old guy with a back pain. And this doesn't usually happen to younger people. I kind of got it like really bad. I guess, there's obviously worse cases where someone, let's say, like maybe injures their back and they carry and struggle with that injury for the rest of their lives until the day they die. That's obviously like the worst case scenario. And probably there's people who get injured and they suffer like maybe a few decades with back pain. I only did 1 decade, but I guess it can be worse. Maybe some people struggle with this for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years. But hey, 10 full years, it's not bad, right? It's definitely up there at the very least, close to the top of the list of worst possible scenarios. Okay, first of all, let's address something even more important than the healing timeline. Is it even possible to heal? A lot of doctors and authorities say that for conditions like these, degenerative disc diseases, and even like bulging discs or herniated discs, which is what I have, there's not exactly a cure. You shouldn't really be able to heal. Well, my initial injury was 12 years ago, and after 10 years of struggling with pain, I've had like 2 years of pretty much being back pain free the whole time. I'm not exactly sure if I'm like technically healed, but when you go that much time in pain and then you have like also a significant time without pain, I would take that like as a pretty good sign that even if maybe you cannot describe it as technically healing, who cares? Like, I feel pretty much the same as before the injury, so does it even matter? At least from like a practical standpoint, I would say I'm healed. And I bet that if you're going through a lot of pain right now, and I tell you like, look, you're not gonna feel the pain anymore, you won't care if you fit the exact definition of healed or not. It's not really gonna matter, right? If you don't have the pain, who cares like about some disc that's maybe a little bit out of place or anything like that. Okay, now, how long will it take for you to heal personally? Good news first, I think that if you're following an approach similar to mine, you're definitely not looking at anything close to like the whole 10 years thing. In fact, we're probably not even talking in terms of years. It's probably gonna be months, maybe even weeks for some cases. Now, I can't know exactly how long it's gonna take for you to see big improvements, but there are a few parameters which we can examine, and they're gonna get us pretty close to an answer, to a precise answer. Here's a really rough, quick formula on how to estimate how long it's gonna take you for you to heal your back pain. If your injury is very, very recent, like we're talking maybe within the last week, you probably wanna add 1 month to your healing timeline. And this is playing it really safe, and like the realistic timeline may turn out to be just 2 weeks or maybe even 1 week in some of the best scenarios. Also, this is one of those few times where what the doctors will tell you will actually be good advice. During this time, you probably want to rest quite a lot. You should consider relying on painkillers in order for your body not to develop like that response to pain, that chronic pain. So that's probably the best case scenario. You hurt your back, you rest for a while, you pop a few painkillers, you don't allow your body to get used to the pain, you don't let it learn how to be in pain, and in a few weeks you're out of your bed, like back to your life again. Now there are a few other factors that we should consider. One of the main ones is if you're out of shape. If you're, let's say, like criminally out of shape, like maybe you've never worked out or you haven't worked out for decades maybe, then you may have to add up to 6 months to your healing timeline. You're probably gonna have to go through a month or two of lighter exercises, kind of like rehab training, just to make sure that the tissue around your injury gets healthier. And then it's probably a very, very good idea to upgrade and graduate to the gym or another form of strength training. And the gym is actually pretty great because you can perform a lot of movements that strengthen your body in a very controlled way. Other forms of training can be pretty good, like body weight, calisthenics, anything that makes you like stronger and more athletic. But I think for like back pain specifically, usually the gym is the best place to end up in. And this is also gonna be like maybe 3 or 4 months until you really start getting kind of strong, actually, not just like rehabbed and healed, but actually resilient to further possible injuries. If you're at least in some decent shape, well, maybe you're looking at like a month of rehab tops and a month or two to get back into like the form you were in before the injury. And realistically, if you're in good or great shape, maybe you're gonna take like 2 weeks to kind of rehab and to slowly get back into like the rhythm of using your body, and maybe even another like 2 to 4 weeks of getting back into the gym. So this can even be like as little as 1 month or maybe like 6 weeks. And then there's nutrition, or even more importantly, a body fat percentage. If you're not overweight, which means you're not above 20% for men. For women, 30% body fat is kind of safe, I believe. In any case, if you eat a diet that's full of processed foods and or a lot of carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates and sugars, I think it would be an amazing idea to explore options like a low-carb diet and cutting out the junk food completely. So eat clean and preferably low-carb. If you're not already eating like that, try this for a month. I think you're gonna notice a great improvement in your back pain. These were the things that started to like shift the tide in my battle against back pain. When I first got back into the gym and I fixed my diet and I lost a bunch of weight, this is where things started to click initially. And keep in mind, like this is after like years of just trying to heal by adhering to doctors' regular advice, like take the pills, physiotherapy, stuff like that. So if you're overweight, you're gonna have to add to your timeline whatever time it takes to get down to 20% body fat for men and 25 to 30% body fat percentage for women. How much time this is depends on how much weight you have to lose, but also how aggressively you're pursuing the weight loss goals. I will talk about weight loss a lot more on this channel, and I will talk about how it relates to back pain. But for now, keep in mind that I actually believe a more aggressive approach might be very good for a lot of us struggling with back pain. The typical recommendations, if you Google like an aggressive weight loss plan, they're probably gonna say like 2 pounds of fat loss a week or 1 kilogram a week. I think you can bump that up like probably double in a lot of cases. I've done it like as quickly as that. I've seen a lot of people do it like that. Basically, you should consider a low carb diet, preferably keto if I'm being honest, maybe even carnivore, because those are not only proven to like melt fat away from your body, but they also reduce inflammation, which is another critical point in this entire discussion. And to skyrocket your weight loss, it's always a great idea to add intermittent fasting or even fasting for a few days into the mix. Like this is where things explode. It becomes absolutely beautiful. You're just starting to stack wins upon wins here. Like the low carb diet is gonna start to just melting fat away from you. You're gonna be astonished at how quickly these things can work. If someone hasn't seen you in like a few months, they're gonna be like, whoa, are you on drugs or something? What's going on here? And not only are you gonna lose weight, which is gonna make it easier on your body and on your spine to carry like a lot less weight, but you're also gonna reduce inflammation. Like these are anti-inflammatory diets in a way, like maybe higher fat and lower carb diets. They are known to reduce inflammation, and your back is gonna love that. It's gonna be like, oof, thanks, I needed that. And if you add fasting to the mix, you're just doubling your efforts. It's also amazing for losing weight, and it's beautiful for reducing inflammation. You're practically giving your body like a rest. Like you're saying, okay, you don't have to digest food for 16, 18, like 20 hours. And that works beautifully. For chronic back pain, this is one of the best things you can do, if I'm being honest. And of course, critically important and very, very much recommended is to work out during this time. Like you don't want to just like lose weight, but a lot of that to be like weight from your muscles. You want to maintain muscle mass as much as possible. If it's your first time working out, let's say, there is a chance that you're going to also gain muscle while losing weight, which is that's like the best case scenario. If you are maybe a more experienced, let's say, lifter in the gym, if you've been training for a few years, you're probably going to lose weight and you're maybe going to lose a little bit of muscle. But if you keep working out, if you eat like a diet rich in proteins, and you're not like destroying yourself with like crazy cardio and stuff like that, you're not really going to lose a ton of muscle, and you're just going to like drop the fat, and your back is going to love that situation. So use a body fat percentage calculator. I will post a link to a great one in the description. Calculate your body fat percentage and see how much body fat you need to lose in order to get to, again, 20% for guys or below, 25 to 30% or below that for women. And even if you take like a slower approach, a milder approach, let's say like 2 pounds a week or maybe even 1 pound a week, it's not really gonna take that much time to see meaningful improvements. And the best thing about this whole like losing weight process, you will notice that as you start shrinking in weight, as you start losing body fat, your entire like state is gonna improve. Your back pain is gonna start to diminish significantly. This cannot be overstated. This is like super important. I see a lot of people like they complain about back pain and they're like at 45% body fat. It's like your body is not meant to carry all that weight. You're putting like an immense pressure on your entire system, on your spine, on your joints. Like, what do you expect? You gotta take care of yourself here. And yeah, like as you lose weight, you're gonna start feeling so much better that this like beautiful magical cycle is gonna start developing. You're gonna fall in love with your new lifestyle and your diet. You're gonna be like, why would I ever even want to like regain weight? And this is like a trap. I'm gonna talk a lot more about this. I've struggled with like weight gain and weight loss a lot as well. You will see a lot more videos on this subject from me as well. But in general, when it comes to back pain, like losing weight is gonna be like, it's gonna be beautiful. And the final parameter you will have to consider to calculate like your back pain healing timeline is how much emotional and psychological issues you have to deal with. And this one is the hardest to evaluate by far. If this is maybe the first video you've seen on my channel, this may sound a little weird to you. If you've seen other videos of me, you probably know what I'm gonna talk about next. But basically, like chronic back pain has a really strong psychological and emotional component to it. They call this psychosomatic pain. And this is actually like a scientific term, even though it sounds like kind of kooky the first time when you hear about it. And the best thing about this is a lot of people, they start seeing massive improvements once they start working on this part of the problem. The way I addressed this was primarily through journaling and release work. So this is not like you're not exactly doing some magical rituals. You are doing like some analysis, some deep insight into your like psyche. You are identifying like problematic patterns and problematic actions from the past, and you do a little bit of honestly like a little bit of strange work to release those, let's say, trapped emotions and memories. It's kind of weird, if I'm being honest. The things I did, I probably wouldn't show them in a public YouTube video, but they work like gangbusters. So a little bit of weirdness traded for like losing all of your remaining back pain, I think it's a good trade. I talk a lot about this in my free book on chronic back pain. You should definitely check it out. The link to it should be in the pinned comment or description. I go into a lot of depth on everything that I tried, what worked, what didn't work, how you can like craft a perfect strategy that's gonna fit your needs and your like the facts about your injury and your life. It's generally a good idea to read the book, and there's no reason not to read it. It's completely free, And I think it's gonna be a massive, like a really valuable resource to your healing process. Anyway, yeah, like this last parameter is kind of difficult to estimate. When I decided to work on these issues, I already had like a lot of experience with journaling. I used to do it quite a lot. I still do it to this day. I had like I knew how to perform like let's say basic like introspection and my thoughts, my memories, my feelings, all of that. And I also had like just a basic understanding of some psychological concepts. You don't need like to analyze Tony Soprano here. You can just like this is not exactly rocket science. This is something that I believe everyone can pretty much understand with just a few hours of studying and research. And it took me a few months of honestly like quite dedicated but also quite concentrated like bouts of effort. A few periods of a few weeks spread across like a period of a few months. I did a lot of journaling, a lot of introspection, a lot of release work. And this is honestly like how I finally resolved the last drops of my back pain. Because nutrition took me from like a 9 or a 10 of constant back pain all of the time. Like fixing nutrition took me down to maybe like a 6 or something. And once I started getting back into the gym and getting stronger, I went down to like a 3. And then this last part, this whole like release work and introspection and letting go of like all the psychological, emotional issues, like all the baggage that we drag from the past. Once I figured it out, once I processed a lot of that, I think that's the exact precise moment where my back pain like completely went away. So that was the last piece of the puzzle for me. For you, I guess it's gonna depend on, well, how much baggage are you carrying from the past? How much of the pain you need to like revisit and process and let it go? And also like how much maybe experience and practice do you have at those types of things, those types of techniques? Also like how intensely do you go about it? Do you like kind of procrastinate and you're like fooling yourself you're doing the work, or are you actually like locked into a room and focused on figuring this thing out? Because that's actually probably the most important part. So it's kind of difficult to give a proper estimate. Roughly, if you're doing this on your own, which is entirely possible and free, I think it's gonna take you anywhere between like maybe 2 months if you have some practice, and if you're kind of good at this, like if your life experience has led you to develop some skills that they translate well into this type of work, maybe up to like 6 months if you've never ever done anything like this. And that's probably like a very safe timeline, let's just say. That's probably the maximum time that I think anyone can do this. I honestly believe that this is not beyond anyone. And you may decide to work with a professional, like some sort of a psychotherapist, in which case typically the timeline should shrink, although not necessarily, because a lot of psychotherapists and professionals, they're not exactly familiar with this type of work that focuses on, like chronic back pain, psychosomatic problems, things of that nature. But yeah, I think like worst case scenario, so you've never really worked on this type of issues, you've never journaled, you've never released, and you have like a lot of emotional and psychological issues you need to go through and deal with. You may be looking at 6 months just for this part. And also like this is typically not work that you will be able to do like all at once. I'm not sure you can do like 6 months of just releasing and like journaling and processing, and it's kind of like draining. It's emotionally and psychologically difficult. So you will need to add some breaks, which is why this can take a few months, but it's gonna be like an important turning point, not just in your process for healing back pain, but trust me, like your entire life is gonna unlock if you do this properly. And yeah, like by the way, this doesn't mean that you will forever resolve all of your issues, like all of the garbage you drag from the past, but you will notice a lot of improvements in your back pain. That's at least like what we're trying to focus on. So you're gonna see measurable, meaningful improvements if you do this type of work. At this point, I should have more related resources on this channel on how to do this type of work. Also, definitely check out my free book. I talk a lot about this type of work in there. And also see like my other related resources. So I have a course on this. I think it's really going to be especially helpful if you want to take things seriously and actually heal by following a proven framework. We're going to build like a custom framework, custom plan just that fits your needs specifically. If you follow that, if you do this type of work, like there's a lot of templates, worksheets, stuff like that, I think you're going to heal like really quickly. Okay, so we went through 4 important factors to consider for your healing timeline. We have the recency of the injury, we have the shape of your body and your body's conditioning, we have the body fat percentage, and we have the emotional and psychological issues you need to deal with. Taking all of that into account, best case scenario, I would say a week. You had some injury, you took it easy for a while, you popped some painkillers, you didn't develop a chronic injury, you don't have like a lot of stuff to deal with, you're in some shape, you're in at least like you're not overweight, I think you can be done in a week. But this is the absolute best case scenario. For a lot of us, this is not gonna be our reality. Worst case scenario, assuming like you diligently follow even what I recommend in my approach, well, 1 month of rest and taking it easy, and let's say like 6 months of if you have like a lot of body fat you need to lose and you're not in good shape, I think you should work on both of those at the same time. Like there's no reason to spend a lot of time just working on nutrition and then starting to work out. It's best to maybe take a week or two to dial in the nutrition and then add exercise on top of that. That's usually an approach I recommend. And for the psychological stuff, it depends. Like you probably can also do it at the same time while working out and fixing your nutrition. It's kind of difficult. It can be like a taxing work. So let's just say like even in the worst case, maybe there are some overlaps. Maybe add like a few months on top of that as well. So we kind of have like 1 year tops, like absolute worst case scenario. And if you try and work on more things at the same time, probably somewhere like 6 to 8 months. Maybe in a typical scenario, I expect this to be common for a lot of people. Let's say you are in some sort of like human shape. Maybe you have like 20 or 30 pounds of body fat you need to lose. Maybe you need to process and release some stuff from the childhood, like some trapped emotions and memories, but you're not exactly like a PTSD victim. You can do this like realistically and in a meaningful way, even on your own. You don't really need a lot of help here, let's just say. Well, in this case, I think 3 months is actually a very realistic timeline. So there we have it. 3 months is something of an average healing timeline for the average person with chronic back pain. I think you can actually do this. Don't be like me. Don't take 10 years to heal something that can be healed in 10 weeks. If you want to work with me closely, have me guide you through the entire process, have me in your corner the whole time, a link to schedule a free consultation call will be in the description. Also, definitely check out the free book as well as the course. They are going to be invaluable resources to your healing process. My name is Mate from Real Deal Heal. If you need more content on healing back pain, definitely like this video and subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell thingy as well. Share this video with someone else who's struggling with back pain issues. And if you have comments and the questions, the comment section is the place where you should go. If you want to keep binging on my videos for whatever reason, a relevant video should appear somewhere right about now. I will see you in another video. Until then, be brave.